understand what's going on around you. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. It's a slow process which we call active measures. The first stage being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. The next stage is destabilization. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. The next stage is crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, period of normalization. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. The danger is real.
Well, holy shit. Now, I did not expect this to happen. The reveal has come so late in the year, I didn't even think there was going to be a Call of Duty game this year. I thought Activision would have, continued the success of Modern Warfare into 2020 and then release Treyarch's new game, which is, the game you're seeing right here, next year, so they could have an extra year to develop it. Because if you don't remember, people were saying that the game was in development hell, no one knew what was going to happen with the game, and we found this out before we even found out what Modern Warfare was. We knew more about this year's game last year than we did about Modern Warfare, which is kind of crazy to think. But that's it, guys. We're going back to the Cold War. We're going back to the Black Ops style era, which I'm super duper happy about, because the Cold War is probably one of the most interesting historical events that has ever happened, just because there was no real fighting. Well, there was fighting, obviously. You had the Vietnam War, the Korean War, stuff like that, but there wasn't actual fighting between, obviously, the Soviet Union and the USA. They were kind of just in this Cold War of people just, kind of subverting the other and trying to get one up on the Soviet Union. So, say, for example, the Americans made the atomic bomb, and then Russian spies in the Manhattan Project actually got the, the recipe for the atomic bomb and gave that to the Soviet Union, so the Soviet Union made their first nuclear bomb, and that kind of, kicked off the Cold War fully, now that both sides had, the capability to destroy each other. But, as you can see, there are some actually pretty interesting themes in this trailer. Obviously, you've got the fact that this Perseus Soviet spy infiltrated the USA, and this has happened a lot in the Cold War, like in the Portland spy ring. This didn't happen in America, this happened in this country, in England. It was a Soviet spy ring, and from the 1950s until 1961, when the core of the network got arrested by the British security services. Then you have the Silver Master spy ring, which was led by Harry Dexter White, Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, and the second most influential member of the Treasury Department in the US government. His job was to aid the placement of Soviet and communist spies within the US government so that they could kind of subvert, the whole capitalist idea. Because basically one of the reasons and one of the main fears of the US government is that Soviet spies would come to America, take up their place in the government, and then try to topple the government so they could, establish a new communist regime in America. And that's what this trailer's all about. They see these spies and they're extremely worried about them, causing actual damage to the American system. Atomic spies, these are the ones I talked about before. They weren't exactly a network, but they were collective information that was obtained by a group of Soviet spies, which basically would help the Soviet Union build their atomic bomb. And they worked around the Manhattan Project, which was, I think it was a collaboration of like Allied scientists working on the first nuclear bomb, which would be used, on Japan in August 1945. You also have people such as Aldrich Ames, I think I'm saying that right, who was born on the 26th of May 1941, who was a CIA operative for 31 years, but at the same time he was a KGB mole, so that means he was basically a double agent. He was feeding all the information the CIA had over to the KGB, which is basically the Soviet version of the CIA, for all the people that didn't know. And then David Greenglass, who was born on March 22nd, 1922, and died on July 1st, 2014, was an atomic spy for the Soviet Union who worked on the Manhattan Project. He provided testimony that would help convict his sister and brother-in-law, Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. Greenglass served 9.5 years in prison. And that mentioned that Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, who were probably the most famous spies for the Soviet Union, and they were accused of providing top-secret information about radar, sonar, jet propulsion engines, and valuable nuclear weapon-like kind of payload delivery sort of stuff. And that time, the US was the only country with nuclear weapons, and they were convicted of espionage in 1951 and were executed by the federal government of the United States in 1953 in the Sing Sing Correctional Facility in New York. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting, the whole topic of espionage and one side trying to, get one over the other. This is going to be a very interesting Call of Duty game and an interesting campaign if they can do it right, because I don't want a fuck-up like they did with Black Ops 4. That was a horrendous game, but... and then we can see in the trailer, we are going to Vietnam. Well, hopefully, it mentions the Vietnam War in it, so fingers crossed we get to go to Vietnam and have like a Black Ops style mission in it, because if you don't remember, there is a mission in Black Ops 1 where you go to Vietnam and you come out of a tent, Woods comes in on a helicopter and he goes like, "Welcome to Vietnam, our fortunate son," which is a really good song, by the way. It's by Creedence Clearwater Revival, plays in the background, and it literally just personifies the Vietnam War. And then, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I've always wanted to see Vietnam in a Call of Duty game again, so fingers crossed this is good. The theme of Soviet spies is going to be very interesting, actually. So they'll be infiltrating America, they'll get into the government, and even in the trailer you can see like the process they use to destroy capitalism and crumble the US to allow for a communist revolution, which basically involves crumbling the government so much that it becomes anarchy, and then a communist government can step in and solve it all. It's kind of like what the Germans did in World War II with how they promised that they would get rid of all the chaos from the late Weimar Republic, and then Nazi Germany would just, completely fix all of that, and we all know how that fucking went, and communist states operate in a very similar way. My brother is apparently screaming in the other room, that's very nice. But to be honest, this Call of Duty game is being set up to be a very, very interesting game. Obviously, we're in the Cold War, which is one of my favourite historical events in history. We might have the Vietnam War, we might have the Korean War, which is something we have never seen in a video game like ever, so hopefully that's in there. It's very early days Cold War, so 1950 to 1953. And yeah, we might see it because there is stuff from the 50s in there that's been mentioned. I'm thinking we're going to be 50s, 60s, 70s for like the play, like the time period that it's set in. It's going to be set over those 30 years of the Cold War, which could be very interesting. Hopefully we see stuff like the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Vietnam War, obviously the Korean War, maybe even the Afghan War if we go into the 80s. And obviously, if all of this happens, I'd love to see some of these spy groups mentioned, like the Rosenbergs especially. They're some of the most influential people in, you know, the whole espionage of the United States sort of plan that the Soviet Union was doing. So if they're mentioned in the game, that would be great. If we're fighting KGB agents, because I'm pretty sure we'll be playing as America, we might get the odd mission where we play as a Soviet spy. But hopefully this is going to be an amazing Call of Duty game. Treyarch, please don't fuck this up. This is the Cold War. People love the Cold War. It's like the original Black Ops. People love that game. And hopefully you can get an interesting story. Like, obviously, I like my historical accuracy. A lot of people tend to do when it comes to historical games. Like, Battlefield 5 just completely went out the fucking window with historical accuracy because they had women fighting on the battlefield, because that never fucking happened in World War II. But anyway, I'm pretty sure Call of Duty knows what they're doing with this. They're going to have a realistic, to an extent, Cold War plot. If you look at the original Black Ops games, there were a lot of events that didn't happen in the original Black Ops games, but they were in the realms of possibility, because obviously it's the CIA that are going to be covering all this up, and all the documents were like redacted and stuff, so it could have happened, we don't know. And if they do stuff like that, say, I think it was Nova 6 was in Black Ops campaign, and that was like a very heavy story element of the game, so I don't mind stuff like that, even though it's literally nowhere near existing. I don't mind stuff like that because it is in the realms of possibility that the CIA would cover that up. It's not like, oh yes, they're working on nuclear weapons that can literally break the planet in half, and the Soviets are actually Nazis. Yes, shit like that. If you go down that route, then fuck that. That's not historically accurate, I should say. But I do have faith in Treyarch. Treyarch have delivered in the past. Not with Black Ops 4. The campaign for Black Ops 3 was awful, but Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1, and maybe Black Ops 3 multiplayer to an extent, yeah, they've all been great. And we have, well, you're seeing this on Friday, so I want to say we have 5 days until the reveal. It's on the 26th, so fingers crossed. There'll be another video coming relatively shortly talking about the actual reveal, because this was just a teaser trailer that was released last night as I'm recording this. So yeah, fingers crossed. This is going to be a very interesting reveal, but I'm going to end out today's video here. If you did enjoy, please do the like and subscribe. Make sure you click that notification bell so you can stay up to date with the latest Halo Infinite and Call of Duty 2020 news. Oh wait, no, it's not Call of Duty 2020, it's Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. I'm never going to get used to that title, but yeah, if you want to keep up to date with the latest Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War news, and also Halo Infinite, because I am primarily a Halo channel, but I will be covering this Call of Duty news as we get it. So make sure you guys subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of the latest Call of Duty news. But this has been Quinton TV here, and I'll see you all in the next one.